Imagine a company so powerful that almost every cell phone in the world bore its logo. A brand that dominated entire continents, turning simple devices into symbols of status. By the late 2000s, Nokia was synonymous with reliability, innovation, and market dominance. Yet in just a few years, that dominance vanished. Executives fled, profits disappeared, and what was once a symbol of power became almost invisible. What happens next is the key point. You'll discover the shocking choices, missed opportunities, and catastrophic mistakes that led to Nokia's downfall. In 1992, Nokia was just beginning to realize its potential. Under the leadership of Jorma Ollila, a man who believed in focus, innovation, and timing, the company pivoted decisively toward mobile phones. Finland's industrial conglomerate, which had dabbled in everything from rubber boots to paper, was shedding its old distractions and doubling down on mobile communication. The launch of the 1011, Nokia's first mass-market GSM phone, marked the start of an era that would make the brand nearly invincible. By the mid-90s, Nokia was producing phones that were reliable, durable, and user-friendly. The brand wasn't just selling devices, it was selling trust. Parents bought them for their children, teenagers wanted them for social status, and business professionals needed them for work. The simplicity and sturdiness of Nokia's phones were a revolution. But even at this peak, cracks were forming. Subtle, almost invisible at first. Competitors were quietly studying Nokia's business model. Motorola, Ericsson, and later Samsung were experimenting with smaller, sleeker designs and improved software. Nokia's strength, their focus on hardware reliability, was also a potential weakness. Their phones were robust, yes, but also bulky. What people wanted next would be thinner, sleeker, smarter. In 1996, Nokia sold over 50 million units. By 2000, the company controlled over 30% of the global mobile phone market, far outpacing anyone else. Their phones were iconic. The 3310, with its unbreakable shell and addictive snake game, became a cultural phenomenon. But the world was changing faster than anyone expected. For a decade, Nokia was untouchable. Competitors struggled to keep up. Investors were euphoric, and the company's market capitalization soared. Yet the very dominance that made Nokia so secure also blinded it. The seeds of the coming disaster were already planted, hidden beneath the shine of its success. Suddenly, in 2007, an event occurred that changed everything. Apple launched the iPhone, a sleek, touchscreen device that looked nothing like the clunky bricks Nokia had perfected. Analysts and engineers around the world were stunned. The iPhone wasn't just a new phone, it was an entirely new paradigm, a computer in your pocket. Apps, internet, music, and a design so intuitive it felt magical. Nokia at the time could have responded decisively. They had engineers, patents, and market influence. They could have developed a competitive touchscreen smartphone, leveraged their global reach, and retained their dominance. Instead, internal reports reveal a shocking dismissal. Nokia's engineers called the iPhone expensive, fragile, and a niche product. Executives were confident their loyal customers wouldn't abandon the brand. The company's culture, once its greatest asset, had turned into hubris. The very thing that made them invincible, confidence in reliability, now made them blind to innovation. By 2008, the market was shifting. HTC, Samsung, and Google began releasing smartphones powered by Android. Nokia was no longer leading. Consumers were drawn to sleek design, apps, and intuitive user experience, things Nokia had underestimated. The response came in 2008 with the N97, Nokia's iPhone killer. It had a touchscreen, a slide-out keyboard, GPS, and even a 5-megapixel camera. On paper, it should have dominated, but in reality, it was clunky, slow, and unreliable. The Symbian OS, once a strength, now hampered app development and user experience. While Apple's App Store boasted over 100,000 apps, the N97 store barely had 500. The world had changed, and Nokia had misread it entirely. What comes next is the key turning point, the arrival of a new CEO who would accelerate the decline. In September 2010, Nokia appointed Stephen Elop, a former Microsoft executive, as CEO. Known as a change agent, Elop was expected to lead Nokia into a new era. But from his first day, his strategy created waves of chaos. Elop delivered the infamous burning platform memo, declaring that Nokia was under threat from Apple and Android, that Symbian was outdated, and that the company needed radical change. Leaked to the public, this memo shook employees, investors, and customers alike. Confidence plummeted, sales dropped, shareholders panicked. Elop's solution, a partnership with Microsoft, and the adoption of Windows Phone as Nokia's primary OS. Android, the fastest-growing competitor, was considered but ultimately rejected. The decision was framed as necessary, but in reality, it isolated Nokia from the ecosystem that was thriving. The new Lumia line launched with Windows Phone 7, but it failed to capture consumer interest. Users found the interface confusing, apps were limited, and hardware was restricted by the OS. Nokia's phones were no longer the easiest or most desirable choice. By 2013, the failure was complete. Microsoft acquired Nokia's mobile division for $7.2 billion. Elop returned to Microsoft, taking key executives with him. When he joined Nokia, market share was 33%. When he left, it was under 3%. The company that had once ruled the globe was now invisible to the very market it had created. Before delving into the story of Nokia's survival, if you find this analysis fascinating, please like and subscribe. The lessons here aren't just history, but a model for understanding every corporate collapse and recovery. In the next part of the video, you'll see how Nokia struggles against certain doom. While the mobile division burned, Nokia's networks division quietly thrived. Rajeev Suri, who has been with Nokia since 1990, took over as CEO in 2014. Unlike his predecessor, Suri's approach has been cautious, methodical, and focused on stability rather than hype. Suri's first move: restructure Nokia, cut costs, and invest in core competencies. He targeted 5G technology, recognizing that infrastructure, not consumer devices, could be Nokia's future. The challenge was massive. Competitors like Huawei and Ericsson were already established. Nokia had a tarnished brand, eroded finances, and a demoralized workforce. Confidence among shareholders was low. Every step mattered. Suri made strategic acquisitions, most notably Alcatel-Lucent, for $16.6 billion in 2015, giving Nokia access to Bell Labs and thousands of patents. These moves were less flashy than a smartphone launch, but far more critical. By 2018, Nokia had developed ReefShark 5G chips that were smaller, faster, and more efficient than competitors. Partnerships with global telecom giants followed. By 2024, Nokia controlled 29% of the 5G market outside China and supported over 6.4 billion subscriptions. The company's revenue had grown from under $6 billion in 2014 to over $20 billion by 2022. Stability had replaced chaos. For the first time in 17 years, Nokia was financially healthy. Nokia's story is more than a tale of lost market share. It's a masterclass in business dynamics. The company's collapse was not due to a single failure, but a combination of arrogance, misreading trends, and poor leadership. The rise under Suri demonstrates that recovery is possible with focus, strategic investment, and patience. Companies can pivot, but they must recognize core strengths and avoid repeating the same mistakes. Consider the missed opportunities. Android adoption could have saved the mobile division. Faster adaptation to touchscreens could have preserved market share. The lesson is clear: success today doesn't guarantee survival tomorrow. Nokia's mobile division may have died, but its brand endured through infrastructure and B2B technology. While Microsoft and other competitors struggled to compete with Apple and Android, Nokia quietly reclaimed relevance, not as a consumer gadget powerhouse, but as a backbone of modern telecommunications. If you found Nokia's journey from invincible to invisible eye-opening, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more stories of business triumphs, failures, and lessons you won't read in textbooks. Remember, the story of Nokia isn't just about phones. It's about strategy, vision, and how easily giants can fall.